Okay, so hello everybody, and welcome to episode 72 of the SparkCast.
Hello.
And joining us is the original co-host, current, almost former Team Dakota person, Brian.
That's right.
You could just say hi, that works too.
Howdy.
Um, so there has been a little bit of new stuff lately. And I think the way I want to start off is ignoring you for a moment and reminding everybody of the great level that David UK 2000 made that so many people have needed to use for their game jam entry. And,
Yes.
some of them didn't find out about it until I told them about it, and they're like, "Oh, I already did all the work though." So that's if you still need UI work to do, there's something called UI Assistant that you need to grab and test with and play around with, and it'll save you so much time in the long run.
Agreed. That's a great level.
Okay, so now moving on to the I guess the star or the man of the hour. So, how many hours
Just
do you have
a
left?
guest.
So, how many hours do you
Um,
have left at the Team Dakota?
well, I'll be here for a few hours today. I might come in on Friday, although our offices might be closed, so I won't. No one will be able to get in the building. So maybe not. But I'm happy that that I was able to, as like a sort of a last act, an official team employee, get out our tutorial series that we've been working on for a long time. Just literally posted that 5 minutes ago. So 24 videos, starts from very beginning of Project Spark, and brings you through how to make an RPG and how to make a 2D side scroller. You get to choose which one you want to go through. So that's all up on YouTube now.
So, as of right now, go and check that out if you haven't, if you want to learn how to do that stuff, basically.
Yes, it's going to start from the very beginning. So, like, those first four videos are what is a prop and how do I sculpt and what is code. So, that's stuff that probably most people watching this don't need to really watch. But there's actually, I'm really proud of in the RPG one. There's like 3 tutorials dedicated to making a inventory screen, and there's some nifty stuff that we do in there. And there's also some nifty stuff we do for random loot that you might find interesting. So even veterans could find some interesting stuff from it.
And it'll be nice for when someone comes into chat at .org and asks, like, how do I make an inventory? I can send them that instead of some of the really, really old videos that have been made.
Yes, and we're going to keep on adding to that. So we're launching it with how to make an RPG and how to make a 2D side scroller, and then we're going to be adding in how to make a third-person shooter. I think maybe how to make an arcade, and I think there are a few other ones that will be added in.
So, I guess the most common question is, like, why are you leaving?
Yeah, well, I can't talk about where I'm going, but I got an opportunity to do something that it's an amazing opportunity that I couldn't turn down. And so because of that, I decided to sadly hang up my community manager hat, and I'm going to be starting at my new gig on Monday. So if you follow along with me on Twitter, you'll be able to find out where I'm going to on Monday. But no, I was not fired. Project Spark isn't shutting down. None of that bad stuff. It was just I got an amazing opportunity, and I kind of had to take it.
So, you're going to be, I'm sorry, I have to spill the beans here. You're going to be smuggling marijuana across the border, right?
Opportunity I could not pass up.
You're the perfect mule. I mean, no one will ever suspect you. He's like, "Hi, officer," and then he'll like, "Oh, you're too smiley. You can go."
Yeah, I was just after watching that new Netflix show. I
Narcos.
Yeah, I was inspired to become a mule.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out so well for all of them. No, okay, I'm sure Thomas is like, "What the heck is going on over there?"
He always heard is me saying I want to be a mule, so he's probably pretty confused.
All right. So with that said, how are things looking as far as like on your side? Like, are you satisfied with the results that you guys have put in for your year of work at Team Dakota?
I feel like I could do 3 more years of work and still not be satisfied. There was stuff that I was just starting to learn that I was getting really excited about, but I've been able to set some stuff in place that is gonna like I'm really happy about, and things that you haven't seen yet. And I'm just I'm happy about the place that I'm leaving Project Spark at. I don't think I could ever leave it at a place where I'm like, yes, my work is 100% done. Everything is done. Every question's been answered, or every single tutorial's been made, or communication has been done, or prop has been created, or so on and so forth. But I'm pretty happy about what I've been able to accomplish, and especially since I decided to take my new gig, what I've been able to accomplish during that time to like really get some results that can be kind of long-standing. That'll really help everybody, including the community, in the long run.
Have you slept at all? Because I know during Concord you kind of slept in the office.
No, I have slept. I haven't pulled crazy all-nighters. I mean, with Conquer, the main reason why I pulled all those all-nighters because, well, most of our team was, and it's honestly, if like you are by yourself at an office pulling an all-nighter, it sucks. It's just lonely. You might think there are ghosts also because you'll always hear weird creaking. It just sucks. But if you are like in crunch time with a bunch of other developers all building something together, it's kind of exciting. Like it's something where you are so tired and it's so much work, but it's really exciting at the same time. So that was what drove me to pull all those all-nighters for Conquer, along with the rest of our developers, because
So,
I was not the only one.
so it was kind of like a sleepover, but without the hazing.
Yeah, it was like a sleepover where we all talk about video games and Conquer humor. What's bad about that?
Well, nothing if you're 13 years old, and you are.
Most people in the gaming industry are. Well, they have the mindset of a 13. We all have the mindset of a 13-year-old because we're all kids, right?
Yeah.
You got to be a kid to be in the video game industry.
Well, that is until you beat up and murder your own inner child in order to seek higher profit. And that's where all the Call of Duty devs go.
Mm, I would say even on something like Call of Duty, probably the developers they're probably all really passionate because I think you're also mixing up developer and publisher because it's a bit different, the people who are actually selling the game versus the ones building the game. I have not met a developer yet who thinks corporate. Every developer I've met, no matter which studio they work for, they're a big kid.
So they're just enslaved by Konami or Activision or what have you.
Or they're usually passionate about it. And, they're just because you may not like first-person shooters, someone can be really passionate about it and just love making cool mechanics and making better and better mechanics. You just, think about the most recent Call of Duty. They have this whole zombie mode. Just think about the developers who put that zombie mode together. They decided to go like 1940s and have just, all these mobsters fighting against zombies. That's got to be fun to make.
Well, yeah, but you're probably also saying it was the publisher who said, hey, zombies are cool right now, put zombies in the game. But it has nothing to do with zombies. Put zombies in the game.
That it could potentially be that. But even if that was the case, their selling point for, well, let's put zombies in the game in the 1940s is pretty great.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next thing. We even had we've had a few new pieces of content that were being announced for the TU-17, and I was expecting that, Orca, Turzard, the sci-fi props, and the new filter would probably be it. And now you're adding also ruins?
Yeah, and that's not it. We have more. We're doing testing, so Thomas is like right next to me. Do we want? he's working. He's working on getting out the like levels for our tutorial series. But I don't know. Do we want to say like how many props are in the hopper right now?
For T17?
No, just like in general.
Oh, like how many are coming though? I mean, I'm fine with that. Like 50, right?
Yeah, about 50-ish.
Yeah. I don't know if they probably can't hear me.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can. Actually, it's
okay.
just really clear.
Probably because you're like 2 feet away from us. They can hear you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've also been saying what he can't hear us, but we've heard
No,
everything he said the entire time.
Yeah. So yeah, we have about 50-ish props in the hopper. Some of them are not going to make title update 17. Some we have to finish up. But yeah, I mean that's about what we're looking at right now of props that still need to come out. Or props, or also terrain paints and icons and there's like other things besides just props.
So assets.
Yes, that's a better word to use. Assets.
And so for the ruins, are they all like a singular architecture
Hmm.
like
Yep.
set? Like sort of like if you guys were to make a content pack out of just these ancient dungeon pieces or whatever?
Yeah, they're different than any of the other architecture pieces that we have shipped out. The ruin pieces are much smoother. Like they look like ruins. They look like things that have just been worn down by years of misuse. You have like an archway, like some cool thin like designs that are fences, slabs, stairs, cool stuff, and the like texture on them is really cool. So cool that we made a terrain paint out of it also.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hmm.
So it's a slab that you can just make an entire um so it's a slab paint or is it like bricks or what is it?
It's like a slab paint, so it's I will honestly say that it is very different than I think anything else you've seen yet. In terms of paint material, it's like really different. It's got a rocky formation, but it's really dirty looking too. So it has these like weird, just like weird features that make it just look. I don't like the best like way Thomas and I could describe it was like it looks kind of dirty, but in a good way.
Okay, I don't want to delve too much further into that.
um,
This is a
I,
family show.
I will say in those 50 props, there's not any glass. We did investigate it. It's not as simple as you might think to get glass in there. Would be great eventually to get some glass, but no, glass is not in those 50 props that we have in the hopper. We did try, but can't quite get glasses as you would want glass.
But transparency is something that could be done in importing, correct? If importing were ever to become a thing, hypothetically.
I don't know about that actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's outside my area of expertise. Knowing how we have it set up, it's not as simple as just we take a material and that material is transparent and put it in. It doesn't quite work like that for us, but it might be something that we solve along the way while we're doing importing. So, I'm not quite sure.
So how hard is it to edit the existing props for you guys? Like there are some props that are transparent.
Yeah, that part isn't as easy as you think too.
It sounds like you guys
So
need to make things as easy as you would think.
I know, yeah. If we definitely. Hey, if we could just take the sci-fi window and just remove those sides of it and ship that out, we totally would do that. I mean, we want to get out the stuff that you guys have been asking for, but some things they take more time and resources than we're able to invest in it.
So speaking of investing resources, what are the things you guys are currently working on that would be coming out sooner rather than later?
I mean, we are still working on Title Update 17, getting stuff in that. There's I think a new bug that was talked about, and people started finding it in preview builds of the next version of Windows 10. We have that on our we've shifted our priorities to fixing that, and working with the Windows team to fix that. So we want to make sure that the Windows preview members, that's fixed for them, and then once everyone on Windows gets that newest update, then it's already fixed for them too.
And what about the standalone offline version?
That's something that's in the works too. It's not in the near term, but I think we do really want to do an educational push, and that makes the most sense over all things to do something educational.
along to go, education along with your tutorial series. So is your tutorial series guided towards pushing education, or just general help for the entire community and new users in general?
Our new tutorial series is definitely more general help. If we were going pure education, we would probably have instead published, a curriculum booklet
So
rather
what is
than
a
a
boolean?
strict.
What is a number variable? What is a toggle? What have you? Go through all of
and
it.
and like actually build out lessons that teachers could then use. So no, the tutorial series that we put together was, our thinking was sure educators can use it, but it's more for when you launch Project Spark and you want to learn how to build a game. We need to have something that gives you the steps for right there, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to building that game and like building on the components for that game. And each different game type has different components you need to learn how to build. So it's just something that we finally had the time to really work on that, and so we were finally able to do that. It's something we always wanted to do, but now we finally were able to do it.
And there was the stream today, which was a little bit of a shifted day because of the holidays coming up. So how'd that go? How did you like the content? I didn't get to watch because I was driving home.
Yeah, no, it was good. We we played like half new stuff and half old stuff too. Like we talked about our first game that we ever saw on Project Spark that made us really amazed at what you could build. So I talked about, for me, it's like the very first game that I remember playing where I was like, whoa, you can make this kind of thing, was A Crystal Story by Anti-Ren. That's his isometric Zelda-like game that came out like way back in January 2014.
Yeah, I remember that. That was it looked really nice. I don't remember having a lot of new mechanics to it other than just looking generally nice.
He instead of combat, it was all shooting also.
I don't remember that clearly, evidently.
So it was like, it was an isometric, and you're shooting with crossbow instead of like, punching stuff.
Hmm.
So it was also, like, I saw a lot of things that made me realize how customized you can make your experiences, because there was no jump in there. There was a nice isometric camera. There was, instead of like brawling, it was kind of shooting at stuff. So all those things together made me like really excited about what I could try and build.
I remember seeing people make things with tiles. Like Bob Schmacky made Flip Dat, the Othello clone, and
Hmm.
then there was also turn-based combat, which I'm shocked and saddened that nobody else has like done something similar.
Drifta made his turn-based combat.
Right, my understanding is he just remixed the existing one, then made a different land area for it.
I think he built some things on top of it too, like some new mechanics.
I could be wrong, but I think it was just new ground.
Oh, it's just like no new mechanics at all. Oh.
Right, it was basically just a sequel of sorts, I guess, because it's not so much, or more a remake than a sequel. But still, it was more of it. It just wasn't like more advanced. It wasn't giving each character their novel abilities or whatever. They just had their own attacks again. Um, I would love for someone to make a Final Fantasy Tactics or a Tactics Ogre. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, and also, like even before beta, with Swan Song, when
Oh
somebody
yeah.
actually got to show that you can make turn-based combat in Project Spark. And what we saw after that was people starting to make turn-based combat games, and then saying, "Oh, the proof of concept worked, so you guys can use it," and then everybody else either starting from scratch again or not doing it at all. So that was one of the areas that could have been used by remixing, but people evidently didn't want to use somebody else's turn-based combat mechanics.
I really do hope now that there's no DLC barrier, that there are people who start using remixing in the way that it was always intended, where you take someone's thing that they just, created that piece of the puzzle, and you make the whole rest of the puzzle. Because, and I haven't done this really myself either. I've only really taken a few mechanics from other people's things, but I always kind of do want to. There's a few games I want to go back and remix and like build on top of and make into a full experience. So more people should do that. There's a lot of great stuff out there. I know all the great creators want to make, their own all original stuff, but
It saves you
building
so
on top
much
of
time.
others is fine.
Yeah. It would be great just to pick a bunch of pieces of the mechanics that people have already put out there as proof of concept stuff, and then combine them together to make a nice actual game out of, rather than just, hey, you can do this really awesome thing by itself.
Right. Like you take the best combat game that you've seen in Spark, compare that, like put that together with the best RPG leveling game you've seen in Project Spark, and then take in the best enemies you've seen in Project Spark, and then use someone's like best assembly designs you've seen in Project Spark, and put all that together to make
And then use
something that's
David
really
UK's
phenomenal.
UI's assistant to make your own UI, or
Yeah.
take something that Project Sparker made and then use his UI.
Yep.
And what else was on this week? Oh yeah. So what games did you play today?
Let's see. We checked out. There's a new Tron game, like a Tron bike cycling game, where it's a mix between a racing game and Snake, where you have to try and get the other person to run into the trail that you leave behind.
Hmm.
So it's pretty fun. It's like it's a great concept of mechanics, combining like two things together with the familiarity of Tron.
And
Uh,
the other ones
we
were Game Jam related, weren't they?
No, we didn't check out any Game Jam related stuff. I don't know. We've been iffy on if we want to check out that stuff yet or not, really, because we don't want to show any favoritism. We don't want to show favoritism. We just want to show cool stuff. But we'd be afraid that might look like favoritism towards certain people's creations, which is why probably no Game Jam entry will be featured before this final submission date.
That makes sense. Though was Code of Color already featured, or
So Code of Color was actually it was I believe
it was
there was
released
like
after the Game Jam was announced, but it wasn't initially.
Code of Color was not a.
that's right. It
Is
wasn't a
not
Game Jam entry, but it was released after the Game Jam was announced.
the new one is not his original creation.
Oh, it's not?
No,
Oh.
I played it and it's totally different.
Okay.
Huh.
So he made a whole new Code of Color.
Well, there you go.
The title's the same. That's it.
It's just called the same basically.
Sounds good. And something else on here that I keep forgetting about it as soon as I started looking at it. Oh, so the Game Jam in general. So you have been creating an entry, and now it's going to be eligible, right? Totally eligible?
No. No, I mean it's especially because I'm technically it still counts me as a Microsoft employee, plus Thomas is making stuff for it. So yeah, the inside joke we have is like the whole reason why I left is just so I could compete for this Game Jam and submit my entry.
And you need to get those connections with the developers, I'm sure.
I know, yeah. Really need those.
So it's not like you had to call them to get permission to use them as the
And
contacts or anything.
coordinate with those developers to to line all them up. Yeah. And then I come back and I'm like, surprise, you're just talking to me.
And then they're like, Brian, this isn't cool. We thought we were going to be able to talk to some like real creators or something.
Yeah, they are all really excited to talk to whoever the Project Spark creators are. We have like a really nice lineup of developers and producers and artists who are excited to talk to whoever wins.
So is it going to be like a strict enforcement of the 8 hours for the winners, or is it just 8 sessions, and if they go 30 minutes over each time, that's fine type thing, or is it up to each of the devs who they end up talking to?
We'll leave it up to the devs, how strict they want to be on their time. If they want to count the clock and write at the hour, a lot of them are really busy. All the devs we chose are devs working on big stuff, so they are busy devs. So it'll depend on probably what their busy day is like. Some of them might be cool staying on longer answering questions, but some might, they just have to run to build stuff and run to other meetings, things like that.
If the winner were to send them a case of beer, so then they would be more relaxed and less likely to look at the clock, would that work out?
It could. You never know.
It was interesting though. There was a party at the studio when I visited, and there was a lot of alcohol there, but very little drinking of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're busy. Too busy to drink.
I believe that, right? Though when we were at PAX and with the team, that was actually when you were first starting to engage with the community. When you went to PAX East, that's when there
Yep.
was a whole bunch of Team Dakota drinking.
That's true.
And you're not comfortable talking about this because,
Well, I wasn't there, remember?
oh, you weren't there until like 4 in the morning. I thought you were one of the troop that was.
No,
Oh.
I had to leave because I was visiting a friend then, so I had to leave you guys early, so I can't talk about it because I wasn't there. So
Oh.
you're the one who would have to fill everyone in on it.
I can't remember very much, other than basically the entire time we spent with them was either at a bar or a restaurant that served alcohol. So, yeah. I remember expecting that. Like, I remember leading up to the event being told, Microsoft people like to drink. So, I had to, I didn't have to, but I opted to start drinking like 2 or 3 drinks a night, just every night. And then,
Like build up your tolerance?
yeah, because like
Wow.
I had stopped drinking pretty much almost entirely after college. Just was like, I'm not around people anymore, and I don't feel like drinking alone. So,
Yeah.
um, so eventually I got up to like 4 or 5 drinks a night, and then went there, and I was like, oh, I'm able to keep up. This is fine.
I'm just picturing like every night like writing down your chart. Okay, I'm allowed 16.8 ounces tonight, and then like next night, all right, 16.10 ounces tonight.
Yeah, so that's not actually too far from the truth. I had an Excel spreadsheet for it. Well, Google Docs spreadsheet, but yeah. Because
And did you have like a drunkenness scale? Like after 16.8 ounces, drunkenness scale 6.3.
that's not too far from the truth either. So yeah, I did I didn't keep track like actually through noting, but it was pretty apparent that I was able to do other. And Brian, you're left-handed?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you
Is
can
that
go.
weird?
Yeah. So, over the past year, what have been some of your favorite memories of working on Team Dakota, or with Team Dakota? On, in,
Mhm. On, in, above, under, whatever.
with,
Within,
as.
for each of. Uh, I would still definitely say working on Conquer. That was just, I mean, it was amazing. As I've said as many times as people know, I am and was a huge Conquer fan. So not only did I get to work on him, but I got to work with the original people who worked on him at Rare and even outside of Rare. And that was so cool. Like listening to Chris Seaver's voice recordings when he was doing all the characters. It's just like, that part is just amazing. It's because it's so funny hearing him, talk, because he has to talk different ways to get into character so that he can then talk in those voices like Conker's voice and Birdie's voice and the Teddy's voices. And that part was just so interesting for me to see. And then just like hearing from Rare about, the choices they made. And then like the team really busting it and putting everything they can into it, and then showing it off to Rare, and Rare being like, "You guys, this Conquer's Big Green, and this like nails the Conquer. It's like nails Conquer for us." And then then me getting to join in the team and actually help build stuff. And I remember when we were, so the team was kind of like at all the way at E3 2014 when Conquer was first announced. I think there was, the general public was not too happy about the way he was announced, because for them it just looked like
Passing
we
the
were
buck.
saying, well, it looked like we were saying, oh, Conquer's coming back, but just kidding, he's only coming in this DLC. And, that just, the team didn't expect that, so there was a lot of fallout. So they were worried about, what the public reaction was with Conquer. And I remember we were really worried. We were thinking of initially, what if we just put it out under the radar, don't say anything about it, and it's just out? And we realized by going down that route that it would piss off Conquer fans like so much more. The fact that Conquer was out and Microsoft never told anyone. So I love the fact that I got to work with the team on like coming up with all of the ways that we introduce Conquer through the teaser trailer, through like his like cinematic trailers, through like all the reveals that we did, and it was just wild that I got to work on all that stuff.
Were you satisfied as like a Conquer fan that what actually came out is what came out, or would you rather have had them just release the content and not start creating a new game, knowing that it was only going to be one episode of it?
I mean, I would have liked it if we had the chance to make more episodes. I think like the team had plans for future episodes, and they were really cool. And like we had some really great plans. Like we immediately after coming with episode 1, we already were planning out episode 2, and that would have been really cool. So I'm still happy that episode 1 of Conquer's Big Reunion came out. I'm still happy that it went out. I'm still happy that, you think about it, we were able to get Chris Seaver to come back to voice act him. So it's the first time you have a new Conquer voice in 10 years. And even though it was, 45-minute experience, it's still something new. And it would have been greater if we had gone through the whole episodic content, but still, I'm happy we got first.
So, since you already know what they were going to do for episode 2, why not just say, hey guys, let's make a really cool Conqueror level that might be related to the stuff that we were going to do if we were going to continue to make it. Now that I'm a community member, I can kind of do whatever I want. It doesn't have to explicitly be Conquer episode 2, but it was going to do all the same stuff that we would have done in Conquer episode 2. Then you can spend like 6 hours a day doing the animations again.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it would take a long time to do what we were planning for episode 2. Plus, I need a lot of assets that we never got to creating for Conquer, because we left it off with Conquer being like, all right, I need to go find my friends, and he was going to go find his friends.
And so he would find his friends when he found his friends.
Yeah, so I can't exactly make an entire episode around certain friends without those assets. I might be able to fake some of it, but there's some characters that I really couldn't.
I think I understand. So were there any other plans to like integrate other IPs, like even like in the pipeline, or was it just Conquer and then see how that goes, and it didn't evidently go well enough to continue making it, so they didn't continue it?
Oh no, it was when we decided to. I mean, it was. We were debating, and we finally, when we decided to go completely free, we didn't have any designers. All the designers on the team left to work on other projects, so we didn't have any designers to work on more Conquer episodes. That's really all it was.
So looking back at the decisions that were made for Project Spark, are there any that you, in hindsight, may have said, like, let's do something else instead of what we did?
In my tenure, the past year I've been there, probably, I think, I would have wanted to do more things with Tor to make it a better experience. I think with the Tor, we really wanted and needed to get out this new, better first-time user experience before Conquer came out. That was the goal. Conquer was going to be the big draw where, a lot of new people came in. So we needed to have a first-time user experience that was better, that, there actually was a first-time user experience that taught you stuff. But I wish we had spent more time actually making it fun and unique, more fun and unique than it was, because as it was when it was shipped out, it was bringing through the 4 or 5 different modes and not doing much else unique. So it would have been cool if we had more time to get that done.
So what you're saying is you need to have longer hours in the day. You need to change the clocks to be 26 hours instead of 24.
Yeah, for sure.
And outside of Conquer, what were the highlights? Like anything like any stories that come to mind as far as like being especially interesting or that you hadn't talked about before?
Hmm.
At least on here. Because what are they gonna do? Fire you?
Yeah. Um, like my very first day on the team was crazy. Like my very first day a year ago was crazy because that was the day that we announced the Ford Game Jam. So I knew it was coming. I talked with it's like when I found out that I was that I was being brought onto the team. I remember every week, Rahul, Zach, and I would get on the phone, all talk with each other about sort of like plans and such. And I remember, so I drove across the country and I got in on Thursday, and I agreed to go and like meet up with them at the studio for lunch on Friday. So I was like gonna start on Monday. So I got there for lunch on Friday, and they were like too busy to come out and meet me. So I just like went into the cafeteria and had lunch with them, and they were like rushing around doing stuff. So I remember just being like, well, can I just stay and help you guys? So like before I even started, I was already working on the team, which I don't think is
Very
let's
not
just keep
legal.
that let's just keep that on the DL between us and the whole public that is going to be watching this. But so like it was so awesome that they because I wanted to and they let me, even though they knew there was like, well, I don't think we're technically allowed to, but sure. So that was great. And then like my very first day getting to then launch the Ford Game Jam. So like Friday was getting everything ready, and then Monday was actually launching it.
So you have been there for all of the game jams to date.
Yeah, that's true. Started on the very first, and we leaving in the middle of the not the last, but
The
the
current.
most recent.
Yeah. And are you going to continue like hanging out with the community? Like, are you going to be coming back to the SparkCast as a guest, as a co-host? Right? You're quitting your other job
Oh,
so you can come back to be co-host here.
well, I do have off the week between Christmas and New Year's, so I might be able to join the Sparkcast then.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's the Sparkcast. It's 3 p.m. our time, so I can't exactly where I'm going next. I can't exactly be like, oh yeah, I have a really important meeting
You
every Tuesday at 3.
you can totally do that.
No, it doesn't exactly work that way. But I'm still gonna be part of the community. I'm still Friday. I plan to spend like all day working out on one of my levels through my game jam. So you're gonna see Invisible Doogie popping up a lot in the community.
So we'll see you hanging out on .org, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's funny because you're banned. No, okay. All right. Do you have any final? If anybody in the chat has any final questions for Brian, or Brian, if you have any final words you'd like to say?
um, I mean, it's even though I've only been here a year, it's been the best. It's been the best year by far of my professional career. I mean, so it's crazy just getting to watch Project Spark revealed at E3 2013 as this amazing thing, and then 2 years later, getting to be an integral part of that team, of the thing that I was super passionate about, is like that's just an amazing thing. And it's hard to decide to leave anything, and it was incredibly hard for me to decide to leave Project Spark. But I mainly just want to say thank you to everybody. I mean, I've worked with a lot of communities, and the community on Project Spark, even though sometimes people don't think so, it is the best community that I've ever run into out there. And the people who are in the community are the best people I've run into. And the amount that I've gotten to know people is I've got to know people so much more than anywhere ever. Not just the people like you who we've obviously gone to a lot of different conferences together, but
Before you
people
were
on the
even hired.
yeah, but people on the forums who I've never met in person, but the amount of conversations we had together, never been able to connect with people through the internet, just in that kind of way. And yeah, I see that with most people, the way that they're able to connect with each other, and for the most part, want to build stuff together. And it's so cool, and it's something that is something I will never turn my back on because I found like the perfect community. So that's why I'm excited to, once I take on my community manager hat, excited to just join back into that community and do the things that I was doing before I even started on the team.
And you owe us because, like Mike Lesko before you, we did a lot of work for you.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. All right, so I don't see any final questions for you in chat, so that means that everybody hates you, and they want you to go sooner than later. So the sooner you get out of here, the better. And don't
Yep.
come back in on Friday because they don't want you there.
Fair enough.
So are you going to continue hanging out with the people that you've met from Spark?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
Are you staying in the Seattle area? Are you allowed to say that?
oh yeah, I'm staying in the Seattle area.
So you're not coming back for Bethesda?
No, I'm not.
Not yet.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm actually. I mean, like, today's pretty much my last day. But like, for instance, I'm seeing Thomas tomorrow, and I'm in a Halo
Cult? Oh.
5 group with people, and also my D&D group on Tuesdays. There's a bunch of Microsoft people, so I'll be back. I'll be like hanging out with all these Project Spark people every Tuesday night, anyways.
So KMK brings up an interesting point. Is it fair to compare you to Mike Lesko?
I don't see why not. We were both community managers. We were very different people.
He wore a hat.
Yeah, he literally wore hats. I figuratively wear hats.
But when you were there, he had already transitioned out, or was he still working there when you started working? I can't remember.
He transitioned out. So when I got hired onto the team, when I first got hired, he was still on the team. So he and I talked for a bit, but he and I talked a lot before then. But by the time I got to the team, he'd moved on. So it was like I think he left 2 weeks before I started.
Okay, so I wasn't exactly sure on the timeline of that. But
Yeah, so I found out about a month before I started, and so had to get everything in order. Well, I think a bit more than a month. Yeah, it was like a month and a half before I started, and so I had to get everything in order, move across the country. So during that time, it was about 2 or 3 weeks before I started. He moved on.
And Project throws out his great amount of contempt and hatred for you, and as is very common for Project Sparker, that's who he is. He is a internet hate machine, and I'm sure everybody echoes his sentiments and wishes you nothing but broken legs and torn ligaments.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I say the same to you, to everyone else, and the actual thing he said, not the torn ligaments thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep on being in touch with all you guys, so it's not gonna change. You just won't see me on the official streams.
I'm not gonna be tormenting you live on the Sparkcasts. I'm only gonna be tormenting Thomas.
Well, you might be the times I'm able to make SparkCast. You might be tormenting me live. It'll just be a bit different because you'll be tormenting me. I'll be like, oh,
I don't have to answer
Not
that
me.
question. You're stupid. You can say your honest
Yeah.
thoughts about me. You're like, Mike, we don't do that on this show. This thing that we started together that I tore apart in your absence. That's how it works.
I mean, I don't think anything's really. I think the SparkCast has been the same since I was on it as a community member or not. The only difference is like the one time Mike showed up.
Hmm?
So like Mike Lesko showed up. It was like the only different one.
Did he ever? Ew, he showed up on the Sparkcast at least twice, didn't he?
Oh yeah, you're right, twice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he did with Henry the first time, and then did he ever do it by himself, or did he have somebody else on with him?
Wasn't it him and Jared who were together at some point?
It's very possible. I can't remember anymore.
I think he and Jared were together at some point. Yeah.
But that's how you totally failed the Sparkcast. Like when you came on, I thought as a Team Dakota member, I thought, oh, we're gonna get Team Dakota devs on every week, new ones.
You did. Not new ones though.
Not new ones. Yeah, so it was like, oh, cool. I'll be able to finally get Jed on. I'll finally be able to get Jesse on, and all these really cool people that we knew from in person, and
We got, I think, Jeff on once or
yeah,
twice,
yeah, Jeff he
and
popped on
Matt.
once because he was like, "Hey, this thing is really cool. I want to hang out with you guys." And then he's like, "Oh, I'll hang out with you guys again." And then the server exploded, so he's like, "I can't come on right now." So
Like around that time, afternoons just it's probably the same with most dev studios, but afternoons are crazy dev wise because it's when things are winding down and when everyone is checking in their stuff, like they're all checking in their code fixes and bug fixes, so things break. So like around 5 p.m. is always when people are checking in their stuff and they're like, oh no, I just broke everything. So we always put out the invitation to people, but yeah, they're all really busy. I think we had BJ on once though, and
did we?
I'm pretty sure, and I think we had Steve-O on as well.
I don't think so. I really don't recall getting Steve-O on here.
Okay, yeah, I guess. Oh no, no, you're right. I was thinking of I was confusing that
Official
with
streams, yeah.
the official stream.
Yeah. You saved all your guys for your own show. I understand.
Well, that is true. That I was like, you guys should come to this, but you need to come to my thing.
You jerk. All right. So, do you have any secrets that you'd like to reveal to, as far as what your knowledge are that you're allowed to share?
Oh, let me think. Yeah, I think. Let me think of like a cool, like a good, fun secret.
Some cool trivia or something. Like
We
what the
so
posters were in the D Town.
no, I can't. I can't ever say that because it's totally IP infringing and not not we're never allowed to reveal
There's
what was
your
on that
clue,
poster.
people. IP infringing.
Um, but all right, cool piece of trivia is so like you remember when we shipped the Arctic biome,
Hmm?
like when we shipped Arctic glaciers.
Mm-hmm.
So a bunch of
Really,
that,
really.
yeah, a bunch of that was actually going to be in another pack called Penguin Playground.
What?
Yeah, it was in this pack called Penguin Playground, and we built out this penguin. We never textured it or anything, and it was on the scroll rig, and it just like it didn't look good at all. Like
I
it wasn't that it looked sad. It just didn't look good. So
it looked like a
we
depressed fox, pretty much.
yeah, so I think we like stole some of the assets and put them in Arctic glaciers, and we had like two assets we actually never shipped out for some reason, and those are two things that we're gonna get out. There's like a cave and a slide.
For people that do want penguins, Wart Andrew does put out a penguin in
Yeah,
SparkShare,
that's true.
so you can grab them. They're there.
But yeah, I mean that happens so many times with like creatures that we thought, oh, it'd be so cool. We got this creature in, and we tried it, and we're like, nope, doesn't work whatsoever. Uh,
Are you allowed
we
to talk
we
about the complexity of the mining drill?
Yeah, sure. That mining drill, that prop took took our 3D artist who made it one entire working month to make that thing. Took him one whole month just to make that one prop because that is the biggest, most complex prop we ever built. So gives you some context that just that one prop took a developer 1 month. Um, I can also tell you like the bog terrain paint, like all the terrain paint that shipped in the bog biome, that passed between three artists, but the artist that finally put it all together and shipped it out, Garrett, took him about a month and a half to 2 months to get those terrain paints done.
So if we're talking about people working 40 hours a week and making, let's just say, $25 an hour, you can multiply that in your head and find out that's a lot of money that goes into those props just for one prop or just for one paint.
Yeah, there's like a few reasons for that. I mean, first, we want to make sure that on every angle it is unique and interesting. So there's like a lot that goes into planning that. It needs to be textured really well because in Project Spark you can scale things up. So we have to texture some things with the intent that you'll scale it up. And like so that means we have to set up things like so different. And there's like because I helped with like just recently I helped with getting a few props over the finish line, and I now know that yeah, it's a lot of work. There are some things that you actually have to hand paint to get in there. Like go down to every like the pixel range and hand paint stuff in. It's crazy.
So, I guess last question from me is, what do you think is like the most underappreciated but coolest prop in the game, or props?
Um, so I have like a personal preference, but also just like like I have one that I know specifically from the team, their preference. Like so the owl rig and like the new owl, the team spent so much time on that rig, and it's just it was just unfortunate that I think it was priced pretty high, and it was something the team like really busted a lot of hours to get right, and it didn't get the critical reception that I think they were hoping to get. So, that is, I'd say, one thing the team would say. For me, I might be like generic and say that maybe like say the cliche thing that Thomas and I always say, which is the chimney, because like the chimney is so useful.
So many props in one. Yeah.
Yep, and also the Conqueror rocks, the like chimney and the Conqueror rocks are both great.
Yeah, the Conquer Rocks, and you can also look at how Defco has used the push blocks in his levels.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
Um, and I would just say light bulbs in general. I recently looked at Holy Light Rider's level, the Eve story one,
Hmm.
and I showed him an example of what his cave could look like if he had used light bulbs in it instead of just that one area where light was coming through onto the floor. Like if he were to
Oh
illuminate the room
yeah.
based on that and have that lighting effect that was light rays coming through the window, basically. And it
Yep.
really makes the room pop. It makes it look much more interesting than what we've seen over the past 2 years, where people will sculpt something and then say, "That's it. I'm not doing anything more with it." So, so light bulbs are very important. I remember, what was it?
They are.
Not Rodent Rampage, but there was a game very early in beta that Team Dakota made with intent of people being able to remix it, but they included the antique fan or something like that in there, rustic fan.
Oh right.
So nobody was able to remix it, but it looked really
That's
cool,
right.
and it looked cool
Oh,
because of the lighting.
by the way, that rustic fan prop, I've really started using that in this factory I've been building. It's really cool. I am going to be using it more often. I really like the like when it's moving and spinning, and when you color those leaves to kind of be the same color as the like wood fan. It's really cool. I need to use that more often.
And I guess the final thing I want to talk about is the color slots for the props. How much, so color coding
Hmm.
for color channels and dynamic coding. How much work was able to be done on those? What's going to be able to ship on TU17?
Uh, just like we said, all the sci-fi props,
All of them, or just the Astrotech stuff?
every sci-fi prop. Also, all sci-fi packs, all their props.
So
Color
not
channels
just
should be fixed.
consistent and not just random, as was originally put in. Yeah,
Hmm.
or
Yep.
seemingly random. I'm not sure if it's actually random. But
Yeah, well, so like what we found out is there's just some props where they have more than three colors, and sometimes it just like wouldn't assign primary, secondary, tertiary to like one of the colors beyond three, and also sometimes like the first color was not the most prominent color, so just yeah, there are a lot of things that need to be cleaned up to get everything consistent.
all right, so that's out of questions for me, and I believe the only other question was, there is a new owl question mark, and there's not a new owl. We're talking about the old owl.
Yeah, the old owl, owlbear.
Um, Owlbear. Yes, we're getting the owlbear now, right? Yeah, that's one of the 50 props.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So that is it. I would like to thank you for you and Zach and continuing with Thomas for continuing to support the SparkCast, keeping it live after you left us to die. No, I'm kidding. But it changed formats a bit dramatically after you joined Team Dakota as a result.
Yeah, it did. I know. Well, because you didn't have two community members always. You now had a TD member and a community member, and sometimes a third community member.
Right. It actually got hard to get community members on. Like, just either them flaking out or just nobody wanting to be on that week. But going forward, if anybody wants to talk to Thomas, you know how he's much more easier to talk to than Brian. So
Yeah, then this jerkwad.
yeah. And I could have used a bunch of words that come from Conquer to have assigned to you. And I do believe Thomas plans on continuing with the SparkCast weekly.
Yeah. So.
And then we can torment him together next week. Or not next week, but one of the weeks of next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, or next month.
Yep.
Anyway. So with that, we'd like to thank you for all of your hard work and commitment and fun stuff like that. Do you have any final words for the SparkCast before we shut you down?
Stay classy, SparkCast.
Nah.
I don't know why I always say that.
You say that because you think it's corny, and it is. And you're just like, if you watched The Legend of Ron Burgundy, you'll get this kind of.
Yes, exactly.
Well, yeah, as long as you're not referencing the second one, because the second one just wasn't as good. All right, so
there was a first one? I thought there was only a second one.
That doesn't even make sense.
I'm just kidding.
All right, so that's it for everybody. Thomas, we'll see you next week, and then if he's listening, I'm not sure. And then Brian, we'll see you in the future and around town.
Yep.
All
right. Bye,
Night,
everyone.
Guys. And we'll, of course, pressure him to talking about his new job as soon as he's free to.
Yep.
All right. Night.